Hello, in this video I am going to run through every single multicolored Edge of Eternities card and find it a home in Commander. And first up we have Afriel, Dreaming Acolyte. For 1, a blue and a black, it's a 2/3 legendary creature, human cleric. When it enters, you draw 2 cards, then discard 2 cards unless you discard an artifact card. And during your turn it has Depth Touch. And what Commander cares about having artifact cards in our graveyards? Noxus, Prince of Luchis. For 1, a white, a blue, and a black, it's a 4/3 legendary creature, human noble with lifelink. You may cast artifact spells from your graveyard by paying 3 life in addition to paying their other costs. And if you cast the spell this way, that artifact cancels with finality counter on it. So my thought is, Afriel can act as a way to put artifacts into our graveyard for Noctis. Biomechan Engineer is green and a blue for a creature artifact. It's an insect artificer. When it enters, you make a lander token, and you can pay 6 to draw 2 and create a 2/2 robot artifact creature token. Gremlin Prodigy is 2, a green, a blue, and a red for legendary creature Gremlin Artificer. It's a 4/4. Artifact creatures you control have trample. At the beginning of your end step, create a 0/0 red Gremlin artifact creature token, and then put X +1/+1 counters on it, where X is the number of differently named artifact tokens you control. So, Biomechan Engineer enters and makes a lander token, which is new to the set, so it's probably not already in Gimbal decks. Plus, later in the game, we can pay 8 mana to draw 2 and make a robot artifact creature token, which is, again, probably not in most Gimbal decks. So this is an opportunity to put 2 more kinds of artifact tokens into play. So Biomechan Engineer feels like it would be good with Gimbal. Biotech Specialist is a red and a green. When this creature enters, create a lander token. It's a 1/3 insect scientist, and it has, whenever you sack an artifact, this creature deals 2 damage to our opponent. Jolene, the Plunderer Queen, is 2, a red and a green for legendary creature human warrior. It's a 2/2 with whenever a player attacks one or more of your opponents, that attacking player creates a treasure token. If you would create one or more treasure tokens, instead create those tokens plus an additional one, and you can sack 5 treasures to put 5 +1/+1 counters on it. So you're sacrificing a bunch of treasures, you're going to make a bunch of treasures, and then you can sacrifice those treasures and deal 2 damage to target opponent. So then your treasures, you're already sacrificing them. You already have other synergies that care about sacrificing artifacts and having the artifacts. But when they happen to leave, you deal 2 damage, which is nice with the specialist. Cosmogoyf is a green and a black for a creature elemental Lurgoyf. Its power is equal to the number of cards you own in exile, and its toughness is equal to that number +1. Disso the Restless is 2, a black, a red, and a green for a legendary creature, Human Scout. It's a 5/6 with whenever a Lurgoyf permanent card is put into your graveyard from anywhere other than the battlefield, put it onto the battlefield. And whenever one or more creatures you control deal combat damage to a player, create a Tormagoyf token. If you just need another Lurgoyf for the deck, here it is. Making Lurgoyf Kindred, just another good Lurgoyf to play, Cosmogoyf. 2 mana, really powerful for having things in exile. The thing is, you have to play cards into exile, but if you already have other things that buff these things, they can do that. So, Dryadrine. That's a complicated name. Dryadrine Synthesis Amalgam is X, a green and a white for a legendary artifact creature construct. It's a trampling 0/1, really trampling. When it enters with a number of +++ counters on it equal to the amount of mana spent to cast it. Whenever you attack, you may remove a +++ counter from each of up to 2 target creatures you control. If you do, draw a card and make a 2/2 robot. Hamza, Guardian of Arashin is 4, a green and a white for a 5/5 legendary creature, Elephant Warrior. This spell costs 1 less cast for each creature you control with a ++ counter on it, and creature spells you cast cost 1 less cast for each creature you control with a ++ counter on it. So, if you're already playing the +++ counter deck, you could include this. It can make additional tokens that can trigger your Kathos Crusade type effects and put counters on everything. You can remove them to draw cards. It can remove counters from itself and other creatures you control. So if you only need 1 on each thing for Hamza, just another way to draw cards. But the white-green decks have plenty of ways to draw cards. So it's fighting for a spot. But it also has Trample, which is good with ++ counter. So just a decent comp. Gene Morph Imago is green and a blue for a creature insect druid 1/3. It has flying, and whenever a land you control enters, target creature has base power and toughness 3/3. You control 6 or more lands, that creature has base power and toughness 6/6. And then Yoiti Mog Ancient is 2, a green and a blue for a 2/4 legendary creature elemental. When it enters, you create a 1/1 green forest dryad land creature token for each time you cast your commander from the command zone this game. And at the beginning of combat, land creature you control with +X/+Y on a turn where X is its power. So I see two possibilities. You can use the Gene Morph to make your commander a 6/6, and then all of your land creatures get +6/+6. But then you can also use the 6/6 to make the 1/1 1/1 forest creatures into 6/6s. So you can both make your commander huge, make everything huge, and then what in extra lands. Once you hit 6, you're gonna hit 6 pretty easy in a Simic landfall deck. So there's some fun things you can do there. Plus, every time your commander enters, it makes lands. So Hylia Ascendant Cadet is 2, a green, a white, and a white for a legendary creature human soldier 3/3. When it enters or attacks, put a ++ counter on target creature you control. Whenever one or more creatures you control with ++ counters on them deal common damage to player, draw a card. Kyler, the Guardian Emissary, is 3, a green and a white for a 2/2 legendary creature human cleric. Whenever another human enters under your control, put a ++ counter on it, and other humans you control get +1/+1 for each counter on it. So when it enters or attacks, you can put more counters on it. You have a human-based deck. Haley is a human, and then you already have ++ or counters happening, and you get to draw cards off of it. So it just slots into a human's build if you're building, like, you only want humans that care about counters. This one cares about counters. Infinite Guideline Station is a white, a blue, a black, a red, and a green for legendary artifact spacecraft. When it enters, create a tapped 2/2 colorless robot artifact creature token for each multicolored permanent you control. And it has Station. Once it has 12 charge counters on it, it becomes a 7/15 with flying. And whenever it attacks, draw a card for each multicolored permanent you control. Joda the Unifier is a white, a blue, a black, a red, and a green for legendary creature human wizard 5/5. Legendary creature you control get +X/+X number of legendary creatures you control. So at a bare minimum, Joda is always 6/6 because it counts itself with the buff, and itself is a legendary creature. So twice you could use it to crew infinite. You'd only do it twice. Whenever you cast a legendary spell from your hand, such as the Infinite Guideline Station, exile cards from the top of your library until you exile a legendary non-land card from lesser mana value. You may cast a card without paying its mana cost. Put the rest in the bottom of your library in random order. I have a couple of thoughts here. A, Infinite Guideline Station enters and makes a bunch of 2/2s for each multicolored permanent. And if you're playing 5-colored Jody, you're playing like every single creature is going to be multicolored most likely, unless like you're literally playing the 9-mana Abyssin that gives everything indestructible. So you could, if you hit 6 multicolored permanents, you can just immediately crew the Infinite Guideline every single time it attacks and draws, because you have a bunch of multicolored as well. Plus, everyone knows that's played or played against a Joda the Unifier deck. The creatures get huge really fast, and you can probably just tap 1 or 2 of them to crew the Infinite Guideline Station. So it's just a fun little addition if you want to include spacecraft in your build. Interceptor Mechan is 2, a black, and a red for a 2/2 artifact creature robot with flying. When this creature enters, return target artifact or creature cards from your graveyard to your hand. And at the beginning of your end step, if a non-land permanent left the battlefield this turn, or a spell was warped this turn, you put a ++ counter on this creature. So it tracks every turn. Dr. Eggman is 2, a blue, a black, and a red for a 3/6 legendary creature human scientist with flying. At the beginning of your end step, draw a card. Then each opponent faces a villainous choice. That player discards a card, or you may put a construct robot vehicle card from your hand onto the battlefield. So you could put the Mechan into play because it's a robot, and just a robot that can return something else to your hand, which is nice, and then also gets bigger as the game progresses every single time something happens to leave during your turn. Memnon Uthros Exile is 1, a blue and a red for a legendary creature Jellyfish Advisor. It's a flying 1/3. Whenever an artifact you control enters, put a ++ counter on target creature. Jenny Flint is blue and a red and a 1 for legendary creatures human detective 2/2 that has partner with Madame Vastra. It has first strike and training. Whenever this creature attacks with another creature with greater power, put a ++ counter on this creature. And whenever you sacrifice a clue or food, put a ++ counter on another target creature you control. So my thought here is you're making clues, you're making foods, and Memnon sees those and puts counters on things. And since Jenny Flint also cares about counters, you could have a clue food deck that cares about ++ counters as well. A lot going on, but this would slot into that deck pretty well. Mutinous Massacre is 3, a black, a red, and a red for a sorcery. Choose odd or even, destroy each creature with mana value of the chosen quality. then gain control of all creatures until end of turn, untap them, they gain haste until end of turn. Obrosh the Prey Piercer is 3, a black and a red, a black or a red, a black or a red, for legendary creature Hellion Warrior 3/5 with companion. Brokerblade is the commander, so it doesn't matter. If a source you control with odd confirmed mana cost would deal damage to a permanent or player, I deal double that damage to the permanent or player instead. So, my thought here is destroy everything with even, and then gain control of all odds. They all gain haste, and you can swing out, and Obosh makes them deal double damage. That sounds like a fun time, so I really like that here. Pinnacle Emissary is a blue and a red for a 3/3 artifact creature robot. Whenever you cast an artifact spell, make a 1/1 drone with flying when this token can't block only creatures with flying, and it has warp for a white, or for a blue or a red. Sorry. Brea, Ethereum Shaper, is a white, a blue, a black, and a red for a 4/4 legendary human artifact creature. When it enters, you make 2 1/1 Thoughtseirs with flying, and then you can pay 2 to sack 2 artifacts, choose 1, deal 3 damage. Just a player, planeswalker, target creature gets -4/-4 until end turn, or you gain 5 life. The Pinnacle Emissary can see you cast your other artifact spells, including your commander, which your deck is going to be full of anyway, and give you drones that you can use to sacrifice to Brea. So that feels good. And then you can also warp it into play on a turn where you can't cast it, but you know, like counting all your mana, that you're going to have 1 extra. You can pay the 1 extra, keep it in play for just that 1 turn, and then cast it from warp later. So you get some additional value up at the first 2 turns. Like on turn 3, if you just have like a 2-drop, you can play the Pinnacle Emissary, warp it into play, and then play your 2-drop, and then get a drum, and you make use of that mana, and that's more mana efficient. So Ragros Death Gastronaut is 1 red and a white for a legendary creature Lobster Citizen 2/2. Artifacts you control are foods in addition to their other types, and have 2 tap, sack this artifact, you gain 3 life. And then you can pay 1 tap, sack a food, deal 3 damage to each opponent, and at the beginning of your end step, if you gain life this turn, untap it. Rocco Street Chef is a red, a green, and a white for a legendary creature Elf Druid. At the beginning of your end step, each player exiles the top card of their library. Until your next end step, each player may play the card they exiled this way. Whenever a player plays a land from exile or casts a spell from exile, you may put a ++ counter on target creature and create a food token. So there's a lot going on. But essentially, you have food synergy crossovers, and if you're just making a chef deck, come on. Lobster Chef, Street Chef, just all fun time. Each player exiles that card of the library until the next end steps. You can play those cards, and every single time any of you play, you make a food anytime any other player, including yourself. We get a lot of access to a lot of foods, so that's a lot of fun. Sammy, Ship's Engineer, is 2, a red and a white for legendary creature, Human Artificer. It's a 2/4. At the beginning of your end step, if you control 2 or more tapped creatures, create a tapped 2/2 robot. Gasla, the Broken Halo, is 3, a blue, a red, and a white for a legendary creature, Angel Ally. It's a 5/4 with Convoke. It has Flying, Vigilance, and Haste, and whenever you cast another spell that has Convoke, scry Tooth and draw a card. So Sammy by itself is just not a playable card. But if you needed to play it somewhere, you could play it in a Convoke deck that cared about convoking things, because then you'll get additional mana. So it gives you an additional creature you to tap to things, and it gives you additional mana. Now, Sammy only makes colorless tokens, so they'll only ever pay the colorless part of the costs. But if you're wanting to play Sammy somewhere, you play in a Convoke deck. Sammy Wildcat Captain, on the other hand, is very strong. For 4 colorless and a red and a white, it's a legendary creature, Human Artificer Rogue. It's a 4/4 with double strike and vigilance. Spells you cast have affinity for artifacts. Nahiri Forging Fury is 4, a red and a white for a legendary creature, Core Artificer. It's a 5/4 with affinity for equipment. Whenever an equipped creature you control attacks, exile a top card of your library. You may play that card this turn. You may cast equipment spells this way without paying their mana costs. So, if you're building a deck like the way I built my Nahiri deck, and every single equipment enters with Living Weapon or for Mirrodin and attaches itself, all of the other spells in your deck will be cheaper because of the number of equipment you have, and even your equipment will be cheaper, to the point where if most of your equipment costs 5 mana, then make something at 4 mana, and you have 4 artifacts in play, which is not that hard, you're just paying like 1 white for cards in your hand, or just like, or red and a white for other cards. So Sammy Wildcat Captain is bonkers, very strong. Seed Ship Brood Tender is a black and a green for a 2/3 creature insect citizen. When it enters, mill 3 cards. And then for a 3 black and a green, you can sack it to return target creature or spacecraft card from your grid to the battlefield, activate only as a sorcery. Atachek Emerald Radiant is 3, a black and a green for legendary creature, insect druid 3/3. When it enters, create a 1/1 green insect creature token for each artifact and or creature card in your graveyard. Whenever another insect you control dies, put a +++ encounter on it, each opponent loses 1 life. So the Seed Ship is an insect, which synergizes with that. When it enters, it mills cards, which when it enters, will see more cards in your graveyard that you milled, and then you can sacrifice it, which is an insect dying, to get a different thing back into play. So there are some synergies here, and it's a decent insect for this build, and it happens to be the same colors too. Singularity Rupture is 3, a blue, a black, and a black for a sorcery. Destroy all creatures, then any number of target players each mill half their library rounded down. Phoenix, God of Deception is 3, a blue and a black for a 4/7 legendary human creature god. It has indestructible as long as your devotion to blue and black is less than 7 and isn't a creature, and creatures you control, if tapped, target player puts half X cards of his or her library into their graveyard, where X is this creature's toughness. So if your board is out of control, and especially if your commander is indestructible, you can destroy all creatures, just reset the board, and then all of your opponents can mill half their library. So it's a board wipe that matches your synergy of needing things to be milled. So it just works. Space-Time Anomaly is 2, a white and a blue for a sorcery. Target player mills cards equal to your life total. Orloro, Ageless Ascetic, is 3, a white, a blue, and a black for a 4/5 legendary creature giant soldier. At the beginning of your upkeep, you gain 2 life. Whenever you gain life, you pay 1. If you do draw a card, your opponent loses the life. And at the beginning of your upkeep, if it's in your command zone, you gain 2 life. So if you're just playing a hardcore life gain deck, you could just one-shot an opponent. Especially because by the time you cast this, that player's library is probably going to be at like 70 to 80 cards, just because they've drawn a lot of cards over the course of the game. And if you doubled your life total once, you can just one-shot kill a player, which is fun. Station Monitor is a white and a blue for a 2/2 Lizard Artificer. Whenever you cast your second spell each turn, you make a 1/1 drone token. With this token can block only creature with flying. Saruman of Many Colors is 3, a white, a blue, and black for a 5/4 legendary creature Avatar Wizard. With War, discard an enchantment, instant, or sorcery card. And a lot of sex. Whenever you cast your second spell each turn, each opponent mills 2 cards. When 1 or more cards are milled this way, exile a target enchantment, instant, or sorcery with equal or lesser mana value than that spell from an opponent's graveyard. Copy the exiled card. You may cast the copy without paying its mana cost. So if you're building just a strictly second spell synergy deck, you could play Station Monitor. Other than that, this card is just not good. But you could play it here. Sir Vondam, Sunstar Exemplar, is a white and a black for a legendary creature, human knight, 2/2 with vigilance and menace. Whenever another creature you control dies or is put into exile, play a 1/1 counter on it and you gain 1 life. When it dies or is put into exile while its power is 4 or greater, destroy up to 1 target non-land permanent. Who cares about exiling? But Ketramos, the New Dawn. For 1 white and a black and a 1, it's a legendary creature god 4/4 with menace, lifelink, and indestructible. It can't attack or block unless there are 7 or more cards in exile. Whenever 1 or more cards are put into exile from graveyards and or the battlefield during your turn, you draw a card and you lose a life. So, if you're playing a bouncy deck or just exiling things, and those things like bouncing affects your creatures, you could put counters on the human knight and you gain life, and then every single time it dies or is put into exile, once it has 2 counters on it, so power 4 or greater, you can destroy something of your opponent. So it kind of gives you some protection, because if they destroy your thing, you're going to destroy one of their things. So they have to, realize that that's coming. But the Sir Vondam definitely seems like it would be playable in Ketramos, especially if you have any other life link synergies. Plus, you're losing some life from Ketramos. You can regain that life from Sir Vondam. Another Sir Vondam, the Lucent, is 2, a white, a black, and a black for a 4/4 legendary creature, human knight. It has Death Touch and Lifelink. Whenever it enters or attacks, other creatures you control get +1/+0 and gain Death Touch until end of turn. Vidar Jabari of Zalfur is 1, a white, a blue, and a black for legendary creature, human knight 4/3 with eminence. Whenever you attack with 1 or more knights, if it's in your command zone or on the battlefield, draw a card, then discard. It has flying and lifelink, and when it deals combat damage to a player, return target knight card from your graveyard to the battlefield. So, it's a knight, it has lifelink and Death Touch, it'll gain you life, and it'll kill anything. Plus, it gives all of your other creatures Death Touch, and so whatever your opponents trade off and kill them, you can just get one of them back with your commander, which feels pretty good when your commander deals combat damage. So I like the idea of giving all of your knights, especially because a lot of knights are like little guys, little tutus and things that make tokens. So giving all of those plus a buff and Death Touch feels like it would be decent here. Tanuk Memorial Ensign is 1, a red and a green for a legendary creature Kavu pilot with landfall. Whenever a land you control enters, it deals 1 damage to each opponent. If this is the second time this ability has resolved this turn, you draw a card. It's a 2/4 if I didn't already say that. Omnath, Locus of Creation, is a red, a green, a white, and a blue for a 4/4 legendary creature elemental. When it enters the battlefield, you draw a card, and it has landfall. Whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, you gain 4 life if this is the first time this ability has resolved this turn. If it's the second time, you add a red, a green, a white, and a blue. If it's the third time, it deals 4 damage to each opponent and each planeswalker you don't control. Tanuk cares about 2 instances of landfall. Omnath cares about 3, but we all know we're playing like every fetch land, Evolving Wilds, Terramorphic Expanse in our Locus of Creation decks, and Tanuk just cares about that happening. So there's a lot of synergy that's out here, and I'm probably going to put Tanuk in my Omnath Locus of Creation deck. But that is a home for every single multicolored card from Edge of Eternities. I've already made a video for white, blue, black, red, and green, and I'm making a colorless one tomorrow. If you enjoyed the series, like the video, subscribe if you haven't already, and I hope you have a good rest of your day, and may your top decks be ever in your favor. Thanks.